me just put up my slide. So as Paul mentioned, I will be discussing about water and environmental human rights defenders. Since the Asia Pacific Network of Environment Defenders focuses on environmental rights and defending as well our environmental defenders. So first of all, let us define who are environmental human rights defenders. According to the United Nations, they are individuals and groups who, in their personal or professional capacity and in a peaceful manner, strive to protect and promote human rights relating to the environment, including water, air, land, flora, and fauna. So, particularly, Indigenous people also describe water defenders as human rights defenders. Particularly, water protectors are activists, organizers, and cultural workers focused on the defense of the world's water and water systems. So, what is the situation now of our water resources? So, at a global context, human activities that have caused climate change and pollution are causing the strain on our water resources. This caused different kinds of conflict that widens inequality and also prevents our progress towards just transition. Currently, 771 million people lack access to clean water. So this is actually the reason why we call this a water crisis, is so much people are already being affected and lives at stake, not just the environment. So when it comes to water defenders context, particularly Indigenous people consider that natural water systems and resources are tied to their identity, specifically because water resources are very important for their livelihood, such as those related to agriculture, as well as those for domestic use. It is also very much tied to their culture, since many of their traditions are also related to their water resources. So as Paulo mentioned earlier, development aggression not only exists in specific countries, but all over the world. And then this is driven by resource exploitation for profit that threatens our water sources, particularly for Indigenous people in their ancestral domains. So this profit-driven so-called development projects have caused the privatization of water resources. So it affects the access of local communities to these water resources. So I would like to focus now on specific cases in Southeast Asia. These can be found in our publication, Reclaiming the Narrative, which I can post later in the chat. No? So first are large dams. Large dams block the natural flow of rivers. This causes the harms in the natural processes of aquatic animals and other organisms in these riverine and aquatic ecosystems. So there are negative consequences on freshwater ecosystems because of the usual sediment flow is blocked. So this affects the nutrient cycling from the upstream to the downstream ecosystems. Dams are also expensive. Many countries are already stopping using large dams, and they have been decommissioning dams since it takes so much resources to remove the sediments from the dams that have accumulated over time. And these dams are also prone to the failures and spillage, causing disasters, as was mentioned earlier by G10. And it also promotes the privatization of water, since dams close up these sources of water, affecting upstream and downstream communities. So all these things contribute to the worsening the existing social inequalities. So an example is the proposed dam in the Salween River, which is found in Myanmar. So the Salween River has about 10 million people from 13 ethnic groups that are dependent on it for livelihood and cultural and spiritual practices. It is the proposed dam is called Hatgi Dam. That is a 1,350 megawatt dam that is within the Karen Indigenous Peoples area. So the project will be funded by Electricity Generating Authority of Thailand International Corporation and also the Sino Hydro Corporation Limited from China. It is seen that it might cause the flooding of two wildlife sanctuaries in Myanmar. Potential altering of the sediment and natural flows will impact the biodiversity in the Salween River. It might also worsen the existing conflict since there are existing conflict between the Karen Liberation Army and the government troops. Also, the project has caused The project has caused numerous human rights violations due to its continued push from the investors. This includes militarization, displacement, forced labor, and also incidences of rape. Another activity that has damaged our water sources are large-scale mining operations. These operations have prolonged and high levels of water pollution coming from the mine tailings. Mining operations also need a large amount of water to process ores, therefore affecting the water supply for surrounding communities. The mining activities that involve removing soil, rocks, and vegetation to extract the desired minerals has compounding effects on biodiversity. So an example is the mining operations of OceanaGold Philippines in the village of Didipio in the province of Nueva Vizcaya in the Philippines. So there are 3,902 individuals and 833 households located in Didipio. Most of them are from the Bugkalot and Tuwali Indigenous Peoples group. So the mining operations of OceanaGold in Nueva Vizcaya can be found in the Adalam River watershed that is an important biodiversity corridor in the northern part of the Philippines. So their permit to mine actually expired in 2019, but was renewed for another 25 years. So that is until 2044, despite opposition from local communities, environmental advocates, and other organizations at the national level. So it was found by independent investigations that there are high levels of copper contamination found in the water sources near the Didipio River. But this is denied by OceanaGold, claiming that other small-scale miners are the one causing this pollution. And there's heavy depletion of freshwater resources that has affected the access rights of locals to clean water and livelihood. So the wells in many parts of the villages have dried up already, affecting their water supply for domestic use and also for irrigation for their farms. Downstream resources are also affected because of suspected chemical seeping from the mine tailings. So aside from these environmental and social impacts, they have also had other human rights violations. According to the investigation of the Philippine Commission on Human Rights in 2011, OceanaGold violated 5 human rights, such as access to water resources and also homes and livelihood, and sections of the 1987 Constitution and other laws. In 2012, a mother and her cousin-in-law were killed by unidentified gunmen, and local communities link this to the mining operation since they are known to be anti-mining advocates. In 2018, 27 individuals who opposed the mines were falsely accused and vilified as being part of the New People's Army of the Communist Party of the Philippines. So we call this red tagging, or the process of the government of naming individuals and organizations as communists and terrorists. This is one of the most dangerous attacks that we see in the Philippines, because this is often a prelude to further attacks or worse attacks. So what can we see that are the main trends in the different incidences related to water? So the lack of access to clean and potable water has resulted in conflict. Human activities, particularly that of large corporations that profit from water resources, are often related to the water crisis. And individuals and organizations and communities that seek to uphold their rights are often faced with repression, leading us to the summary that if we want to protect our natural resources, particularly water resources, we should also protect our environmental human rights defenders. So in the Asia Pacific Environmental Human Rights Defenders Forum conducted in 2022, these following recommendations were given by the participants. First, environmental rights enabling civic spaces and accountability must be reinforced at the national and regional levels. Second, while participation of civil society in any decision-making process is essential, the perspectives of indigenous people have to be specifically considered. Third, traditional governance and culture needs to be respected when environmental impact assessments are conducted. And there needs to be a monitoring mechanism for civil society organizations on the implementation of their recommendations. And lastly, that the voices of the people from affected communities need to be reflected. Any of their opinions presented ahead of the consultation should be incorporated. And we believe that these recommendations can all only be forwarded or implemented if there is sufficient pressure from environmental human rights defenders in the region. So I hope that these kinds of activities, like the forum that we're having now, would not be the last engagement among environmental human rights defenders, but inspire further action. Thank you.
Thank you so much,